Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It's your host, Rising Oblivion. Sorry, content's been a little bit sparse here or there, but I've been working on something pretty cool, and that is this here review of Labyrinth of Galleria, the Moon Society. So I got this game from NIS, so thank you so much for giving me a code and let me play this game. I appreciate that a lot. This game was interesting. It was fun. I really think that this is probably the best take of like a modern game taking some old elements. So like this is a lot like a old JRPG with modern elements added to it. I guess you could say it is like a sort of throwback to the old way of how JRPGs and stuff were done. I think this whole series is kind of like that in general. Etrian Odyssey is having its remaster coming out here soon, so those three games are also going to be similar to this when it comes to that first-person sort of dungeon crawly JRPG style. And if you're a person who likes this, you'll probably like those and vice versa. So this game was interesting. I had never played a sort of first-person dungeon crawler type JRPG game before. Obviously, I've seen a lot over like that. This channel, you know, is mostly Megaten content, and I've played a lot of games that, you know, are doing, I guess, more like what Persona does or SMT3 does, but I did know that there were some Megaten titles that were in that sort of first-person type of, you know, JRPG style of game, like the old classic dungeon crawler type games used to be. But this game was my first introduction to that, and it's really cool because this does a pretty good modern twist on that old style. And you'll see what I mean by the stuff I throw up on screen, but I really enjoyed this game. I think it was great. Once again, big shout out to NIS for giving me the code for this game and allowing me to review it. So first things first, let's kind of dive into the game's party mechanics, because I felt like that was something that was unique to this game, and some of the other games I've played JRPG wise, it's a little bit different. There's a lot more customization when it comes to this. You can choose your character. There's, you know, male and females. We also have different alterations you can do to them in terms of like art style or colors. You can have multiple different ways to have these characters. So while the roster might look somewhat short, there's a lot more customizing that you can do to these characters. And it's not just looks, but there's also certain weapons they can use, certain abilities and things like that that you can have, and certain covenants, you'll see that on screen here eventually soon, that you can put them in that sort of determine how they level up and how they play. You also choose the name of the characters like you're seeing on screen now. There is some randomized ones. That's kind of what I did. I did like a few characters a little bit differently, but here you go. You can see this. You have their appearances. You can change their appearance, change the color, change their name. They have nicknames, but you can also go even further in and change things like stats. So natures is kind of how they begin to have their things. There's favorites that you can choose for them, different voices and whatnot as well. So there's like a decent amount of customization in terms of just like giving them personality, but also giving them, like, you know, something more usable, something more unique when it comes to the actual gameplay itself as well, which I think is cool because you're kind of getting both things there, making the character a little more personalized, because not every single one is going to be the same. You could change their stat growth, you can change sort of their stances, for instance, standard, sun, and moon, that does different things, even selecting skills and picking their lucky number as well, which is interesting because that does some different things in the game as well, just to not really spoil it. But it's really cool creating these characters basically because they become part of your team. You can have up to 5, and having different covenants sort of determines some of the level up patterns that they're going to have throughout the game. And it's also going to determine groupings that you're going to have of your characters. So these puppets are what you're going to be using in battle. You can repair them as well, because if they wipe out during, you know, battle or something like that, they're going to need to be healed up, and you can actually give them more parts and whatnot as well to help them. So here I have Witch Pack, Healer Pack, and Fighter Pack. Basically, like I said, you can have them all together and level up their covenants, so their little grouping there becomes stronger over time, and how they level up and how they do things sort of stays, you know, tied together. So I kept a couple characters that way. I added a healer on to this new character I made for this video, so she's going to actually be leveling up in a way that gives her more attributes towards healing and stuff like that, and she also has more healing type abilities. So I have a covenant, a fighter, and a healer which is going to be sort of their assigned things. I like the Witch Pack. It's what you start with in the game. Later on, even in like the first dungeon and whatnot, you'll find the Fighter Pack and the Healer Pack. So there is a lot of customizing when it comes to the characters. Like I said, you choose their name, you choose the things they like, their art style, their skills, different things like that. Of course, you can give them more equipment, better equipment, things that you find when you're in the dungeons and whatnot. Overall, help you and make this game feel really unique when it comes to its characters and who you're fighting as. And I really like that because it makes things more interesting, I think, when you have a little bit of personality, but also the gameplay being something that's unique and different as well. There's a store and whatnot as well, but let's move on over to something else. Okay, so now I'm going to be showing you guys what it looks like to actually go into a dungeon. It's pretty cool. You jump into like a wardrobe, some like Narnia style type shit, but you jump into the wardrobe and this actually takes you to the different places. I'm showing you the first floor, so nothing too spoilery here. I'm just going to be doing some battles and whatnot just so you can see that kind of stuff, but there is different things you could do and find and explore within the world. There, like I said, there's enemies around. There's also mana on the wall, which mana is sort of this, I guess, secondary currency. You have silver, which is sort of your primary, which is what you use to buy things to like heal yourself or heal poison and different stuff like that. But mana is special. It has special attributes to that. I'll let you guys kind of figure that out, you know, on your own if you play this game, but mana is important, and mana also, as you get more of it within your current dungeon, your current like sitting when you're playing in the dungeon, also increases the drop rate of stuff. Here's a battle. Typical JRPG fashion, you pick the person you're fighting, choose what skills you're going to use or whatever, what you're going to be attacking as. You can also do Protect Coven, which means you're going to be protecting yourselves and whatnot. Battle XP totals, you can see here, here's a level up, chests are leveled up, you gain some mana, and we got an item from that. Typical kind of JRPG type stuff there, I guess you could say. The cool thing about this game, though, is you can have a decent amount of characters fighting all at one time, so that's something I really enjoyed. I think it's interesting when games do, you know, something extra, like having a lot more characters. Persona and whatnot, you know, you have 4 usually. You have yourself and 3 partners, but in this you can have 5, and have the different covenants mean like you have different groupings of characters, which is an interesting way to do fighting and stuff, but that for the most part is kind of just how the fighting goes. I don't think anything in particular too special. Here's the map system. Just like Etrian Odyssey and other classic like dungeon crawly first-person JRPGs, you have the map. You can pull the map up. You can actually mark stuff on the map so you know where you're going. Maybe there's a chest or a certain boss fight that you're not ready for. You can mark that stuff on the map. Like I said, this does a good job at giving a little bit of a modern twist to this type of stuff because the ease of access and like ability to do things is so nice, which is what's going to be happening to those Etrian Odyssey HD remasters. I know I keep talking about them a lot, and it's kind of a competitor to these games in NS, so sorry. This game is still absolutely amazing, like I'm saying. I love this game. I wasn't paid to say I liked it or anything. I do genuinely enjoy this. It was my introduction to this stuff. I'm a lot further in the game than what this footage shows here, and I'm addicted to it, quite frankly, but the way that they're doing these old games, you know, in this old style, I guess it's not an old game, but like this old style of how, you know, JRPGs used to be, and giving it such a good modern twist and ease of access, like being able to just change equipment, boom, on the fly, being able to mark stuff on the map, being able to just see where you're going and understanding the entire environment makes it so much better, because there's plenty of puzzles that I played in like Shin Megami Tensei 3 or some of the old Pokemon games and stuff like that where I was just completely lost for certain parts, you know? Certain puzzles are just like super hard to understand, not because they're a puzzle, but because being able to navigate through the puzzle is just difficult to do because it's an older game. This game isn't like that. It's actually fun to like find switches to open up doors, to find secret areas. This game really does reward exploration, finding more items that you can use for your team. There's certain special items that give big stat boosts to your characters, which is really fun because once you get into a boss fight and you have to do that, some interesting, you know, things can happen. Your characters also have, you know, standard HP, level up, DP points, which is going to be used for those sort of special abilities, and also like the healing type abilities. But if you notice above the little banner there, they have Liberation. Liberation basically is kind of like your limit breaker, or whatever you want to call it. If you're a Final Fantasy fan, that's basically your limit, which means like your specific character is going to do, generally it's like a bigger attack or a debuff to one of the enemies or a buff to the team, something like that. Something beneficial for your team in the end. It should help you with battles and whatnot, but that's kind of an overview of the game's, you know, fighting mechanics. So we've kind of gone over party creation and game mechanics, but there's still a little bit more to this game. The game does have a somewhat mystery type aesthetic to it, because you end up in this big castle, you're learning more about the story and the characters involved, and you're unraveling a bit of this mystery of all of these dungeons and everything underneath when you go through this wardrobe of kind of what's going on. You're collecting mana and you're making these puppets. It has a like big mystical type, I don't know, feel when it comes to the story. I guess that makes sense why it's called Labyrinth, right? You feel like you are in a labyrinth of like a mystery sort of thing of what's going on. And you can see from just the backgrounds that have been flipping through these different screens, this game looks absolutely beautiful. I have this on the PS5, you're seeing PS5 footage here, and it is one of the best looking JRPGs out there. Like even the character sprites and what they look like, even though most of the characters can completely change outfits, completely change colors, they did a whole lot of work when it came to making this game look good, giving the characters full depth, different things about them, like I said, personality, but also gameplay wise. The characters make sense, you know, and you can build a pretty cool team. It's similar to, I think, when it comes to Persona's fighting, you know, you could just have the game be simple and easy and sort of breeze through it when it comes to the gameplay, but if you want more of a challenge, there is more stuff there for a challenge. You can use mana to actually increase the difficulty, but it also increases the amount of items and things like that that you get. You are rewarded in this game for doing more stuff. Personalizing your characters, going through this sort of mystery type story, it is like the best type of feeling when you're playing a game like that. You know, it tells you just enough information and gets you kind of hooked in, you know? Not just because I got this game code am I shilling this much for it, but I genuinely do love it. So, you know, Monarch, for instance, was a game I didn't enjoy, and I was very truthful about that. Soul Hackers 2 as well. But this game, I think a lot of people are kind of skipping over it. It came out not too long ago, I think a couple weeks ago, but yo, please, give this game, you know, a chance. I really enjoyed it. It was a nice change of pace compared to, I think, what a lot of other JRPGs are out there doing right now. I really do believe that, because I think this is something we needed. Something to bring us kind of back to the roots, I guess you could say, of JRPGs, and I think that's kind of just been the outlook recently, right? Shin Megami 3 HD Remaster was kind of done that way. The Etrian Odyssey HD remasters are going to be coming out soon. We're seeing a return to classic JRPGs. Final Fantasy 16, even though maybe not gameplay-wise, but aesthetic-wise, it's going back to its roots as well. So, it's interesting. I see a lot of this sort of happening, and this game might be one of the first really big steps in that direction. And I'm happy about that, because if this is more of what we're going to be getting, man, like, this is pretty good. This is pretty damn good, and I think it's worth the money. And of course, it's a JRPG, it's a long game. You have a lot of fun building new characters, figuring out the story, going through, you know, all these dungeons. It's fun. If you're a person who likes JRPGs, I know for sure, without a doubt, you're gonna like this game. I kind of do ratings on some of my reviews. If I'm going to give this one a rating, I would say somewhere around an 8.5 out of 10. I think I gave Persona 5 like a 9 or something like that. I think Royal I gave like a 9. So I think it's that good. I think it genuinely belongs there. But I think that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you want to see more of these types of reviews, I would love to do more of them in the future, because this is something I could just kind of do in the background. If not, maybe I could stream more of these games and give you guys more of a like full-on review later at some point. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this one. Like, comment, subscribe for more content. As always, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you all so much for watching. Link down below. Get 10% off of your order for Dubbies. I'm sponsored by them. And thank you, NIS, for giving me this game code. That's it for now. Bye!